There's nothing quite like a homemade pizza night. The aroma of baking dough and melted cheese fills the air, creating a warm and inviting atmosphere. Homemade pizza is more than just a meal, it's an experience. So, are you ready to embark on a culinary adventure and discover the joy of making your own perfect pepperoni pizza? Get your aprons ready. Before we fire up our ovens, let's take a quick trip back in time to explore the fascinating origins of pepperoni pizza. Italian immigrants brought their pizza-making skills to American shores, combining traditional dough recipes with ingredients like tomatoes, cheese, and cured meats. Pepperoni, a spicy and flavorful salami, quickly became a favorite among pizza lovers. The popularity of pepperoni pizza skyrocketed in the post-World War II era. Today, pepperoni pizza remains a staple in American cuisine, enjoyed by people of all ages and backgrounds. There's a reason why pepperoni is the reigning champion of pizza toppings. Its salty, spicy, and slightly smoky flavor adds a punch to every bite, while its crispy texture provides a satisfying contrast to the gooey cheese and chewy crust. Pepperoni is incredibly versatile, lending itself to countless variations and combinations. From classic combinations like pepperoni and mushroom to more adventurous creations like pepperoni and pineapple, the possibilities are endless. Maybe it's the nostalgia it evokes, reminding us of childhood pizza parties and Friday night gatherings. Whatever the reason, there's no denying that pepperoni pizza holds a special place in our hearts and on our plates. All right, pizza lovers, let's gather our ingredients. First up, the foundation of our pizza masterpiece, flour. We want high-protein bread flour for that beautiful elasticity, resulting in a crust that's both chewy and crisp. Think of gluten as tiny, strong hands that hold onto all the air bubbles yeast makes. When measuring flour, resist the urge to scoop it directly from the bag. Instead, use a spoon to lightly scoop the flour into your measuring cup. This ensures accurate measurements and consistent results every time. Next up, the heart of our dough, yeast. We're going to use active dry yeast, which comes in little packets or jars. To activate the yeast, we'll need warm water, around 100 to 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Add a pinch of sugar to the warm water. This gives the yeast a little energy boost. Then, sprinkle the yeast on top. Give it a gentle stir, and let it sit for about 5 to 10 minutes. If the mixture becomes foamy on top, congratulations! You've got happy, active yeast. Now let's talk flavor. While flour and yeast provide the structure, a few key ingredients elevate our dough from basic to bellissimo. First, a pinch of salt. Salt helps control the yeast activity and enhances the overall flavor of the crust. Next up, a touch of sweetness. A teaspoon or two of sugar adds a subtle sweetness to the dough and helps with browning during baking. Finally, a drizzle of olive oil. Olive oil adds richness and flavor to the dough, resulting in a more tender and flavorful crust. Plus, it makes the dough easier to handle and prevents it from sticking too much while kneading. Now, the real fun begins. It's time to mix our dough. In a large bowl, combine the flour and salt, giving them a quick whisk. Make a well in the center of the flour mixture. Pour in our bubbling yeast mixture and the olive oil. Gradually incorporate the wet ingredients into the dry ingredients, starting from the center and working your way outwards. Keep mixing until all the flour is incorporated and you have a rough, slightly sticky dough ball. Section 2. Kneading, building strength and texture. Transfer the dough ball onto a lightly floured surface. Kneading might seem intimidating, but it's actually quite therapeutic. It's all about using the heels of your hands to push, fold, and stretch the dough. Repeat this pushing, folding, and turning motion for about 8 to 10 minutes. As you knead, you'll notice the dough transforming from sticky and rough to smooth and elastic. Section 3. The first rise. A time for relaxation and growth. Lightly grease a large bowl with olive oil. Place the dough ball in the bowl, turning it to coat it lightly with oil. Cover the bowl tightly with plastic wrap or a clean kitchen towel. Find a warm, draft-free spot in your kitchen for the dough to rise. Let the dough rise for about 1 to 1.5 hours, or until it has doubled in size. Section 4. Punching down, releasing the air and building flavor. Once the dough has risen to twice its size, it's time for round 2 of dough handling. Gently punch down the dough to release the air bubbles. After punching down the dough, you can either proceed directly to shaping and topping your pizza, or you can let it rise for a second time. Now with our dough prepped and ready, let's move on to the heart of our pizza, the sauce and toppings. The soul of pizza, crafting the perfect sauce. Start with a can of high-quality crushed tomatoes. Pour the tomatoes into a saucepan, and then rinse out the can with a little water to capture all those flavorful tomato bits. Add a glug of olive oil, a minced garlic clove, a pinch of dried oregano, a sprinkle of red pepper flakes, and a pinch of salt and pepper. Bring the mixture to a simmer over medium heat, stirring occasionally, and let it cook for about 15 to 20 minutes. Pepperoni paradise, choosing your circles of delight. When it comes to pepperoni, you have options. Classic pork pepperoni or a spicy beef and pork blend? Thick cut or thinly sliced? Look for pepperoni that's free of artificial colors, flavors, and preservatives. The ingredient list should be short and sweet, just meat, spices, and maybe a little smoke. Cheese, glorious cheese. Let's be honest, is it even pizza without a generous layer of melted, gooey cheese? For a classic pepperoni pizza, mozzarella is the way to go. Look for low-moisture mozzarella, which is specifically designed for pizza. While mozzarella is the star, don't be afraid to get creative with other cheeses. A sprinkle of Parmesan adds a salty, nutty flavor, while provolone brings a slightly sharper, tangier note. You can even add a dollop of ricotta cheese for a creamy, indulgent touch. While we're gathering our toppings, let's not forget about our baking superhero, the pizza stone. A pizza stone mimics the effects of a professional pizza oven by absorbing and distributing heat evenly. Place your pizza stone on the bottom rack of your oven and crank up the heat to 500 degrees Fahrenheit. Let the stone preheat for at least 30 minutes. We want that stone nice and hot so it can work its magic on our pizza crust. Our dough is ready, our sauce is simmering, our toppings are prepped, and our pizza stone is preheating. It's time to transform that humble ball of dough into a pizza masterpiece. Gently transfer the dough onto a lightly floured surface. Using your hands or a rolling pin, start shaping the dough into your desired pizza shape. We're aiming for a crust that's about 1/4 inch thick, thin enough to get crispy, but not so thin that it can't handle a generous amount of toppings. If you're using a rolling pin, lightly flour the pin to prevent sticking, and roll out the dough from the center outwards. With our dough stretched and ready, it's time to give it a flavorful base. Transfer the shaped dough onto a piece of parchment paper lightly dusted with cornmeal. The cornmeal will prevent sticking and add a nice crunch to the crust. Now grab your simmering pizza sauce and give it a good stir. Using a ladle or a large spoon, spread a generous layer of sauce over the dough, leaving a small border around the edges for the crust. Don't go overboard with the sauce, as too much can make the crust soggy. Aim for a thin, even layer that covers the entire surface of the dough. For an extra flavor boost, try brushing the edges of the crust with a little olive oil and a sprinkle of garlic powder. This will give your crust a beautiful golden brown color and a subtle garlic flavor. Section 3. Pepperoni perfection, arranging the circles of joy. Now for the moment we've all been waiting for. It's pepperoni time. Grab your chosen pepperoni and let's get creative. Whether you prefer your pepperoni slices whole, halved, quartered, or even chopped, the choice is yours. Just remember, the goal is to create an even distribution of pepperoni goodness across the entire pizza. For a classic look, arrange the pepperoni slices in a slightly overlapping pattern, starting from the outer edge and working your way inwards. This will ensure that every bite has the perfect ratio of crust, sauce, cheese, and of course pepperoni. If you're feeling adventurous, try experimenting with different pepperoni arrangements. You can create a pepperoni spiral, a pepperoni bullseye, or even a pepperoni smiley face. Let your imagination run wild. Section 1. Into the fiery furnace, baking our masterpiece. Our pizza, adorned with its crimson pepperoni smiles, is ready for its grand transformation in the heart of the oven. Carefully slide the parchment paper with the pizza onto the preheated pizza stone. Remember that stone has been patiently soaking up heat, eager to work its magic on our creation. As the pizza meets the hot stone, you'll hear a satisfying sizzle, the first whisper of the magic to come. Close the oven door quickly to keep that precious heat trapped inside, allowing the pizza to bake evenly. Set your timer for 10 minutes. This is just the first act in our pizza baking drama. While the pizza bakes, resist the urge to open the oven door too often. Every peak releases heat, disrupting the baking process. Instead, trust your timer and the intoxicating aroma that will soon fill your kitchen. The unmistakable scent of pizza perfection in the making. The pizza dance rotating for even browning. When the timer chimes its 10-minute serenade, it's time for a little pizza dance. Using oven mitts, carefully pull the oven rack out slightly. Now, with a gentle hand, rotate the pizza 180 degrees. This ensures even baking and that gorgeous golden brown crust we all crave. See those little bubbles forming on the surface of the cheese? That's a sign that things are progressing beautifully. Those bubbles are pockets of pure flavor, just waiting to burst forth in every delicious bite. Push the rack back in gently, allowing the pizza to continue its dance in the oven's warmth. Set the timer for another 5 to 7 minutes. We're in the final act now, the anticipation building with every passing second. Is it ready yet? Signs of pizza perfection. As the timer counts down the final seconds, our senses are on high alert. The aroma intensifies, now a symphony of melted cheese, spicy pepperoni, and baking dough. The edges of the crust have transformed into a beautiful golden brown, and those cheese bubbles? They've morphed into tiny caramelized craters of flavor. Carefully pull the oven rack out again. The pizza should look irresistible. The cheese melted and bubbly, the pepperoni slightly crisped at the edges, and the crust a beautiful golden brown all over. But to be sure, let's do a little test. Gently lift a corner of the pizza with a spatula. The bottom of the crust should be firm and dry with a satisfyingly crisp texture. If it still looks pale and doughy, give it a couple more minutes in the oven. But if it passes the test, it's time for the grand finale, extracting our masterpiece from the fiery furnace. The grand finale, serving and savoring your masterpiece. It's time. Using oven mitts, carefully slide the parchment paper with the pizza onto a heat-safe surface. Let the pizza rest for a few minutes. This is crucial. The cheese needs time to settle, and the crust needs a moment to relax. This short pause prevents a molten cheese avalanche and ensures a clean, manageable slice. While the pizza cools slightly, gather your hungry crowd. The aroma alone should have them lining up. Grab your trusty pizza cutter or a sharp knife and cut the pizza into slices. As you cut, listen for that satisfying crunch of the crust, the soundtrack to our pizza symphony. And now, the moment of truth, the first bite. The crispy crust gives way to a soft, chewy interior, the tangy sauce harmonizes with the melted cheese, and the pepperoni, oh, the pepperoni, delivers that salty, spicy punch with every mouthful. Enjoy the satisfied sighs and words of praise from your fellow pizza lovers. You've earned them. Beyond pepperoni, a world of pizza possibilities. Congratulations, pizzaiolo! You've conquered the classic pepperoni pizza. But the journey doesn't end here. The beauty of homemade pizza lies in its endless possibilities for creativity and customization. Think of this recipe as a starting point, a blank canvas for your culinary imagination to run wild. Embrace seasonal ingredients, roasted vegetables in the summer, earthy mushrooms in the fall, or colorful bell peppers any time of year. Experiment with different cheeses, sharp cheddar, creamy goat cheese, or even a sprinkle of blue cheese for the adventurous. Don't be afraid to go beyond the traditional. Try a white pizza with a garlic herb sauce, or a barbecue chicken pizza with a tangy barbecue sauce base. The only limit is your imagination.